Hello students, this is Chef Sundar Srinivasan from AISSMS, College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology, Pune. In this session of Food Safety Management Systems, we will go through developing a HACCP plan or HACCP plan. Before we actually go on to developing a plan or looking on what aspects are there while you develop a plan, we need to understand certain preliminary steps so that we are clear on exactly what we are going to do in the plan. So one of the first stages or initial part is writing down your HACCP plan. So before you write down your HACCP plan, these points we need to look into. To write your HACCP plan, keep descriptions as accurate as possible but short. So you do not write lengthy versions. You keep it short and just as required, as accurate as possible. Use straightforward and simple language. Your plan should be easy to understand and follow. Do not use frilly languages and use heavy words. Keep it simple. It should be understandable by everybody. It should be followed by everybody. After your first draft is complete, review it and remove any information that is not essential. So once your draft is done, you have to review it maybe once, twice, and you may ask someone else to also review it, so that if any excess or extra information is there, you can remove it. Any information that is not essential, that is not related to what you are doing, should be removed from it. Then write your product description. Now, this is the first part of understanding. If you have observed on left, hashtag understand@_01. So the first part you need to understand. Write your product description. Every team's first task is to write a product description. You need to write down the details of the product. So the description should be general and include. General in the terms, keep it basic and simple as I told on the earlier slide. So it should include about the food, that is about what it is all about. Second is ingredients, 1, 2, whatever type or whatever number of ingredients that are going need to be mentioned neat and clean. Processing methods, what kind of processing methods have been adopted, need to be put down or mentioned. Packaging, what packaging is used for your product. Storage, what kind of storage is essential, what kind of storage would be required, needs to be mentioned. Distribution procedure, whether it is refrigerated, frozen, ambient temperature or any other. So the distribution should mention what kind of method is going to be followed. And example of labeling and labeling information. So what kind of information would generally be going onto the label of that particular food. So all these things need to be thought about, had to be written on your draft so that you know about that particular product. Describe your intended use and primary market. So you ask these questions: who buys the food and why? So this section of your product description will provide useful information for determining critical limits later on. So it will help you in your critical limits later on. So who will buy your food and why? Many foods can be described as catering to general public who buy the food to cook it at home. However, if you create a niche product such as a dairy-based baby formula, you need to identify them specifically. So if you're going to have a product which is not going to have not general purpose, going to be specific, so you need to mention that in your plan itself. For example, to write a description of baby formula, you might include that the formula is designed to be mixed with water. So you have to be specific that what has to be done with that particular product, so that the consumer knows about it, and even in your plan it is being mentioned. Now this is a sample of what that particular plan would have. So what all you generally would write down about the product in the description. So the product name, so what is the product about? Our product is XYZ. What will it's commonly known as, or its intended use. The product is produced by, so the company or supplier description and requires what? Shipping, distribution, handling, storing, and what kind of safety requirements would be involved. The product is packaged in, so what kind of packaging is involved and what is its shelf life. This also should be written down in your description. And our product will be sold by, so where and how your product is going to be sold. Also note below the picture, so you can include a picture also into your description, so exactly anyone would come to know what exactly you're talking about in this description. And below the picture, if you see by, date and company name, so by would be who has prepared this, so you have to have some responsible member from your food safety team, or maybe one or two or more members could be involved, when this has been made, and the company name. So whenever there are any changes in this, the date would be updated and an updated copy has to be given to all. The old one would become obsolete. Now we'll see the same thing with proper descriptions. So the same thing, now we have the proper descriptions. Now the first part says about the food. What is it? The tan orange juice, 100% tangerine and orange juice blend. It's about the food. It's about the slide earlier that we saw. The same pointers are going to be what ingredients. So commonly known as fresh squeezed or sorry, it's a tangerine and orange, going to be used by consumers, the general population, for refreshment as a part of a healthy diet. So it does not have any additions into this. It's a natural product. What processing method is adopted? So the product is in-house using cold press method. It is not pasteurized, requires immediate refrigeration and refrigeration throughout the distribution and shelf stocking. So even in the storage conditions are mentioned here. So same packaging and storage. The product is packaged in a BPA free plastic, is a type of packaging material, and its availability in what kind of bottling, who is bottling it, and its shelf life mentioned at 28 days at constant refrigeration temperatures. So all details have to be covered in your description. Distribution, it will be sold wholesale to regional grocers, coffee shops and restaurants, from where it will go to the consumer. So the company is not going to directly involve themselves with the consumer, but they will have their own distribution areas, and then from there to the consumer or even the retailers. And then the labeling information. So labeling includes the coding, the lot coding. So they'll have their own codes, safe consumption guidelines. So how they need to consume. Very commonly you'll find once opened, refrigerate, or if it is under refrigeration, once opened, consume within so much time. So all this should be mentioned. Now below the photo you'll find it is prepared by so and so person with so and so designation of so and so company, and date when it has been prepared and to which company this belongs to. So this particular thing I have taken from safesitehq.com/HACCP plan. So a very good description that has been provided. So I picked it up from there. Moving ahead to the second part, #understand@_02. Develop your commodity flowchart. So very simple flowchart to be understood by all. Again, detailing would happen at a later stage. So what I'm going to do is, after this we'll see a small picture to understand better. So develop your commodity flowchart. This is the second step. It requires you to identify the scope and process or commodity flow. So very simple. You have to understand what happens from the start of the product when ingredients come in to the end stage. The HACCP team uses the product description, intended use, and the primary market to develop a complete description of the production process from start to end. We will understand this better in the picture over here. So this is a simple sample flow chart of the commodity. Now this is for a processed chicken frozen and frozen product. So basically there are three things that are involved at the initial stage: receiving of packaging material, receiving frozen poultry, and receiving non-poultry ingredients. We'll see the center one first. So it says once it comes, the tempering process happens, skinning, deboning, weighing, and then the processing, adding of ingredients. Now if you see at this stage, you are involving the non-poultry ingredients which needed to be added over here into the mixture. And then the processing of this would happen again after the ingredients have been mixed. And then it goes into packaging and labeling. Now, when it comes to packaging and labeling, you will observe that on the left side, your packaging material has been received, stored, and it is going to be used at this particular stage. Once its packaging is done, labeling is done, it will go for chilling or even for freezing, and then into storage. And once into storage, from there the shipping logistics would take over. So this is how a very simple basic flowchart needs to be prepared for your particular product. Now, the commodity flow diagram or flowchart, it simplifies your process steps. It does not include fine details at this point in the diagram. That comes at a later. I just mentioned it that the detailing is required at a stage later. However, there are some common oversights. Make sure that your list of process steps also includes. So these are some 5 points which generally are overlooked. You need to look at any other inputs that are involved. So once you make your process chart, you need to think, is there anything that has to go into my chart? Are there any delays that would happen, intended delays that could happen in my process? Procedures that vary by shift. Could there be changes in my process when it is in different stages or different shifts? Return of product to process. Could there be a chance that my product may have to go back into the process somewhere? And any or all outputs from the product. So what could be the output of the product which I might overlook, or it might be an oversight that could happen. The third point to understand, #understand@03, verify the flowchart. Once your flowchart is ready, we need to verify. So how do we do that? So when you verify the flowchart, what you have created, your team needs to give it more than once over. So you need to go through it again. You should visit the site where the system takes place, walk through each step of the chart as you would do during the production process. So actually you would visit where this is going to happen, whether exactly is it going as per what you have mentioned. Your verification step ensures that the flowchart includes all practices and materials in the process so that you can identify every single relevant control point in the following steps. So in this particular stage, when you verify actually these, you need to make sure that everything that you have mentioned is there or not, right? From the ingredients to the steps, everything, because this is going to become important for a later step. If the process changes across shifts or seasons, then your HACCP team should visit during each version of the process at a minimum. Multiple visits help to create more complete flow diagrams. Absolutely. So if there is any changes in your process that could happen due to seasonal changes, ingredients might vary during seasons. Okay, processes may change during season. Even each shift might have slight changes. So it is good that a team, the food safety team, has frequent visits to ensure that the process is correct, and do they need to modify it as per these changes that are occurring. And the last one is, remember, if your commodity flow diagram is incorrect, your HACCP plan will be ineffective. So you have to make sure that your flow diagram is correct. Again, keep it simple, but make sure it is correct. Take the time to verify and get it right the first time. So I would suggest maybe 2 times you go through it, actual visits. It will help to get your plan absolutely correct. So with this, I come to end of my session. We will tap into HACCP plan into the next session. So I refer to this particular site, safesitehq.com/HACCP plan. Once again, thank you all students of AI SSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. Please click on the link given below and attempt the quiz. Once again, thank you all and happy learning.